You got Arjun's phone. The only thing I don't see is that. Just start it, Aaron.
Okay.
I think this is it.
So yes, people take their seats.
Yeah. Would you see if you can get some headphones and see if you can hear that?
Yeah.
Hello,
I don't
everyone.
know if there are any
Can
headphones,
everyone
but-
please take their seats?
Oh, in my backpack at the top, there's some like earbuds that should Bluetooth to that.
So we're like 7 minutes basically.
Yeah. So this slideshow will go for 7 minutes, and then we'll go to the opening remarks, and then you'll introduce Rena and Shona.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Oh, they're in this little pocket right here.
afternoon, and good early morning for those who are joining us on the live stream all the way in India. My name is Ravi. I'm Kalyan Uncle's nephew. Thank you to everyone for being here to honor and remember Kalyan Dutta. On behalf of the Dutta family, we are deeply grateful to all of you, especially those who've traveled from far, those who are joining virtually, and those who carry Kalyan very, very deeply in your hearts over the years. Today is a celebration of Kalyan's life. It's a chance to reflect on who he was, the many communities he was a part of, the relationships that defined him, and the fact that he was the original hipster, far before the term hipster was even a thing. We'll move through the different chapters of Kalyan's life with remarks and tributes from those who know him in many different seasons. I'll begin by introducing Rina and Shona, who will share opening reflections to ground us in who Kalyan was and what he meant to those closest to him.
Hi, everyone. Everyone can hear me okay? I can get closer. All so much for being here today. I'm Shona. This is Rina. We're really happy that you're here to celebrate the life of my dad. It's such a pleasure to see so many faces that are familiar to us from so many years. Closer. Oh my God. This is very uncomfortable being so close. How's that? Better? Okay. All right. Fathers teach you things, and my dad was no exception. He taught me many things, but he always did so in a very Kalyan uncle way. He taught me how to ski and how to ride a bike in exactly the same way, by giving me a push and watching me go. And honestly, it's anyone's guess as to how I stopped. He taught me to speed, and he was there when I got my very first ticket. He taught me to break rules and to challenge expectations. He taught me how to push at the boundaries and edges of what's known, what's accepted, and what's assumed. He also taught me to try new things, to assemble a computer, to solder a circuit board, to respect the electronics that I rely on every day. He taught me to climb castle walls in England, how to hang from the underside of a bridge in France, how to jump off cliffs and waterfalls in Jamaica. He taught me to try eating things without knowing what they are, and how to cook without measuring. He taught me to absolutely adore music. And he taught me how to enjoy the physics of the world around me, and how to make a damn good paper airplane. From start to finish, my dad was a true original. And for everything he taught me, for everything he gave me, I will be forever grateful, because he taught me to be an original as well.
Like that?
Good job.
Okay. Yeah, we're missing the OG AV guy, Kalyan Dutta. Again, just want to echo what my sister said. Thank you all for being here. Looking around, a lot of people that I know, a lot of people that reflect all the different parts of my dad, and my dad had so many parts that are so wonderful. Seeing you here is very moving. I struggled to put together words today. Sometimes when the heart is full, then your words run dry. But just wanted to say that my dad was someone very special to each one of you. For me, my dad was the very center, the start, and the root of everything that makes me myself. We are very alike, me and my dad, like kind of looking in a mirror of personality, the two of us. And I shaped myself around him and around his expectations and around his love more than around any other thing in my world. From my youngest memories, he's been right there at the center of my life. And now suddenly he's gone. How can that be? I don't know. But really, I think he's not gone at all. I think he remains there in me, in his eldest daughter, in all the things that I do and in all the ways that I am. When I change a flat on the side of the road out there somewhere without anybody's help, suddenly my dad's right there, just like he used to be, showing his little girl how to rewire a light switch in our old house on Ross Road. He showed me that through us doing things like that together, that I could do anything on my own. When I'm reading up medical texts at night after my son's gone to sleep, I have him there again at my shoulder, helping me unravel all my difficult trigonometry homework before school the next day. When I'm teaching a group of new doctors, he's there, the brilliant professor whose elegant explanations made him so loved by his grad students. When I sing, I hear him humming Rabindra Sangeet, tapping a slippered foot time to the music. When I cook, I see him at the stove, simmering love into the curries. When I greet a friend, his spirit's there, gracious and hospitable. When I embrace my son, his arms are embracing us both as well. And when I'm alone, finally at the end
time studying while he was just fine. I envied him. After IIT, I went to the Midwest. He came to the West Coast. We lost touch for a while. We pursued our careers, raised our kids, and then we reconnected. And both he and Parvati have been so generous to me and my family. I was always amazed by his depth of knowledge, as it is obvious from all the boards here. Photography, music, and the music can be anywhere from Arabic music to Rabindra Sangeet. We all will miss him. Obviously, none more than Parvati, Reena, and Shona, and of course, little Nico. My condolences to all of you. You will always remain in my heart. And I'm glad that I am part of your life. We miss him deeply, but I suspect he'd want me to end with a pun. But I'm not smart enough to come up with one. Rest in peace, my friend. We will all miss you.
I have known Kalyan for more than 60 years. We first met in 1963 as classmates at IIT Kharagpur. Kalyan was one of a group of 14 of us close-knit friends, the so-called C-top middle wing mates in Nehru Hall of Residence at Kharagpur. We all became lifelong friends. Kalyan was a quiet person with a brilliant, logical mind. Being in the same discipline, we spent countless hours studying together at IIT. I benefited from his clear thinking and his lucid explanations in technical matters. Despite his quiet personality, he had a sense of humor and always came up with clever, timely puns. Kalyan also had a playful, lighter side, quite evident to his close friends. Kalyan was always helpful to others. In my final year at IIT, my bike was stolen. For months, till I could replace my bike, Kalyan gave me rides on his bike to and from classes. There was no hesitation on his part. Even though he was often quiet, when he spoke, his comments showed in-depth knowledge of the subject. There was nothing frivolous in what he said or what he did. In 2021, my wife Meena and I had an opportunity to spend 3 days with Kalyan on a road trip along the Oregon coast. It was a wonderful, memorable time to refresh our friendship that I will always cherish. Kalyan will be missed by all who came in contact with him. I will miss him dearly as a friend with whom I first learned the fundamentals in the field of electronics. Meena and I convey our deepest condolences to Parvati, Reena, Shona, and the family for the loss, for the personal loss. May his soul find the ultimate bliss. Om Shanti Shanti.
Dear friends, quiet and reserved, an introvert at least during his IIT days, Kalyan flowered during his latter years. I would like to share some interesting snippets that provide an insight to the diverse range of knowledge and interests of this fascinating personality. We exchanged notes firstly on all subjects, Konkani music, where I found him to be quite a buff, although Konkani is supposedly my mother tongue. Then on shipping, which has been an adopted profession of mine since the last 25 years. We had extended exchanges on various nuances of shipping, and I found that although lacking hands-on experience, his observations and comments to be very erudite. Farewell, Kalyan. May calm seas and favorable winds accompany you on your journey into the unknown. My prayers also for Parvati and the rest of the family.
Kali was the first friend I made in IIT. We were neighbors with adjoining double rooms. He was quite different from me, but with our different interests, his tremendous scientific curiosity and his very, very gentle but lovely sense of humor. He was a great punster, and I would contribute my great interest in cricket and in rock and pop music. So we got on famously, and I think that friendship has endured right through many, many, many decades. It's still very difficult to accept the fact that Kali is gone. But at the same time, it was almost as if he gave us a small gift when he came across to Hyderabad just a week before he passed away, spent 2 days with Lakshmi and me, and we just loved his company and that of Parvati. It was a lovely trip, brought back wonderful memories, and I'm so happy that they were able to come and stay with us, and we were able to spend time with Kali. We will miss him terribly, and all our prayers are with Parvati. Thank you.
Kalyan, where do I start and where do I stop when I talk about him? His was truly a life to celebrate. I consider myself fortunate that had extensive contact with him at an impressionable age during my years in college. His knowledge, breadth and depth across multiple disciplines was impressive and inspirational. And I've always felt that Parvati, with her sweet demeanor and matching intellect, was a perfect match for him. Life around Kalyan was never dull. He kept us in stitches with his ready wit and incessant puns. At the same time, we were in awe of his descriptions of world events and scientific analyses. I will always have a smile when I think of my friend Kalyan.
Truth to tell, I always looked upon Kalyan with a mixture of awe and admiration. Along with Raju, he constituted the hard core of brilliance in our C-Talk IIT group. As you all know, this group was populated by multifaceted individuals with a wide array of talents. And Kalyan stood out amongst all of us because of his intellectual brilliance. His quiet demeanor masked a formidable mind and a depth of knowledge on a wide variety of subjects. I remember a discussion with him about a book called The Shoes of the Fisherman, which was about papal history and the Vatican. And I was absolutely amazed by the depth of his knowledge of papal history and the Vatican. His recent discussion with Alvito on the very abstruse subject of commercial shipping and tonnages was a discussion which went clear over my head. But it once again demonstrated his wide array of knowledge on a wide array of subjects. So we remember Kalyan for his formidable intellect, his dry sense of humor, his passion for puns, and his wonderful talent for photography. Kalyan, you were truly a jewel in IIT's crown, and we miss you tremendously. Rest in peace, my friend.
Kalyan was special. He was gentle, kind, humble, and an intellectual. I first met Kalyan in January of 1963 in Calcutta at St. Xavier's special program for senior Cambridge students. We were about 16 years old, and since both of us didn't go to school in Calcutta, we didn't have many friends at St. Xavier's, so we hung out together. Kalyan was quiet and unassuming, but stood out in his classes. At St. Xavier's, they used to publish a list of the top 10 students every week. And for the entire program, Kalyan was number one on that list every week.
After St. Xavier's, Kalyan and I both went to IIT Kharagpur, and Kalyan excelled in electronics engineering department. As the topper, he was the envy of his class. And to the surprise of many, he walked away with Parvati's heart. When we moved to the Bay Area in 1989, I was pleasantly surprised to find that Kalyan lived only 10 minutes away from our house. For the next 35 years, we socialized regularly, picnics, potlucks, birthday parties. We traveled all over the world together. We were part of a bridge group every Tuesday night. We were part of a book club for the last 20 years. Kalyan loved photography, music, and cooking. I remember an incident at the Ngorongoro crater in Tanzania. We were watching a lion roam around the park when suddenly the lion decided to come towards our van. Kalyan was halfway out of the window with his camera taking picture of the lion when the lion reached only 15 feet away from us. We were all scared, and the guide asked Kalyan to come back inside the van and roll up the window. Kalyan was oblivious to the danger and was reluctant to come back in. And when he got back in, he was disappointed that he couldn't take the nice pictures from inside the van. Kalyan loved to barbecue, especially in the summer evenings. He loved to play a hand of 3 no trumps at our bridge parties. Unlike us mortals, when he liked a subject, he dug in deep and became an expert. And he taught us about it, and we discussed and argued, be it the Hubble telescope or Arabic music or current political affairs. Kalyan was special, a bright intellect, kind and friendly disposition, and a unique sense of humor. I would like to say goodbye to Kalyan Da with this poem. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be ever at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and the rain fall softly on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Thank you.
From there, we will move to Kalyan's time at Stanford. To hear more about this chapter, we're honored to hear from his PhD advisor, Professor Joe Goodman.
Thank you to the Dutta family for inviting me to say a few words about my interactions with Kalyan. I first met Kalyan in the late 60s, early 70s. That's more than 50 years ago. And I served as his research supervisor in his PhD work. It's difficult to remember the details of the early 1970s since they're so far away. My guess is that Kalyan took a couple of courses from me before deciding on an area of research. No doubt he did well in these courses and on the PhD qualifying exam at Stanford, which was a very difficult exam. I had only a vague recollection of Kalyan's thesis work. However, I found a paper that we had jointly authored, published in 1977, that was a good summary of his PhD work. And that paper brought back a lot of details to my memory. I was blown away by the results Kalyan had obtained. First, he developed a very detailed analysis of the problem that we had decided upon, and he found an elegant analytical solution. But second, something I'd totally forgotten, he performed rather complex and difficult experiments to confirm his theory. What a great PhD thesis he created. While his accomplishments were wonderful, my description of our interactions would be incomplete if I didn't mention a few words about my impressions of Kalyan's character. He was an extremely modest individual. He never tried to toot his own horn, we would say. In addition, he had a calm demeanor. These characteristics made it a pleasure to work with him, and I'm quite sure they must have remained with him his whole life. He was a gentle person and a model human being. While we saw one another only occasionally after his student years, I'm left with regrets that we didn't meet more often. He was a very special person.
Okay, next, if Kalyan Uncle had a LinkedIn profile, it would just say Lockheed. That was the entire professional career, and we're going to hear more about this. I'm going to introduce Gary Baker.
It's also an honor for me. Is this better? Can I just take it off? All right, how about this? So I just want to say it's also an honor to be invited to make a few comments about Kalyan. And my overlap with him was kind of at the second half of his career with Lockheed. I joined in 2002, and he had been there for quite some time before then. But right away, I was introduced to him by the person who hired me, John Breakwell, who's with us here today as well. And he was one of the two people that I was introduced to. It's like, you've got to meet this person. This is someone who can help you get started here at Lockheed. And after I got to know Kalyan a little bit, it was clear why. He's just such a smart individual, very knowledgeable, but also just so caring and helpful. And it was just, he never got tired of my questions or impatient with me ever. And so it was just a wonderful way for me to start my time at the company and get off on a really good foot. And we worked in a similar area, of course, optics and lasers. And he was always someone I could go to for, he was really knowledgeable with computer science and coding. And he was always someone I could go to for help in that arena, which was not my strong point. He worked on, one of the big programs that he worked on was this thing called Airborne Laser. It's this huge, powerful laser on a 747. Which was all the rage through the late 90s and early 2000s. And I got to hear a lot of stories about his time on that program and the challenges that he faced. I came in kind of toward the tail end of that, so I didn't work on it directly, but it was still fun to hear the stories he had to share about that and the people he worked with. One of the things that we did work on together was a laser comm project in the mid-2000s, and some of the testing that we had to do was this facility that Lockheed has up in the hills above Santa Cruz. And it's a really wonderful place up there. You can actually see the ocean, and on a clear day, you can see down to Monterey. And at times I go up there, it's like, you know, I can't believe I get paid to come up here. It's almost like a vacation. But one thing really stands out with me in my memory as Kalyan is one time, we had to go up there several times to do field work, and one of the times we decided to carpool together, and he drove, And it was just such a pleasant drive. We were driving in his new car, as a BMW teal color of some sort, and he really liked that car, and he really knew how to push it. And it was just such a pleasant drive up 17, and I think we went over Bear Creek Road. And you know, I don't really remember what we did that day, but I just remember the time spent with Kalyan and him asking about me, how I was doing, how's my family, and just such a wonderful individual. One of the things that I do on the side that he found very interesting is I volunteer my time at Foothill College with the observatory there, and he expressed a lot of interest, and so I got him to come up and give him a tour one time of looking at the stars and whatnot. And then he was like, you know, there's someone else who would be really interested in this, and someone you might be interested to meet. And so through Kalyan, I got to meet Joe Goodman, who just gave the remarks prior to me. And that was a thrill for me because Joe Goodman has done made a lot of major contributions to the field, and I read all his books. So career highlight for me to meet Joe. And this is all because of Kalyan, and it's just endless compassion at sharing the goodness in his life. So, and then Kalyan retired. I don't remember when it was exactly, 2010, 2011-ish time frame. And we got together on occasion several times afterwards. Kalyan would always reach out periodically, check in with me. How are you doing? Let's get together. Sometimes we'd get together with colleagues. Other times it was just me and him getting together. But I never got tired of talking with Kalyan. And he never got tired of talking to me and asking about me and how I was doing. So truly I can say that, you know, Kalyan is one of the most special, caring, thoughtful, considerate persons I've ever met. I feel so lucky for knowing him. And as I've heard the comments prior to this, you know, it's interesting to hear that many people are like, oh, he's such a punster. You know, he never, at least around me, he never dropped puns at work. So I can't share with you any memories of any puns. But again, it's just such an honor to have known him, and I just want to say thank you again for inviting me. I don't remember what I was going to say. All the prior comments that I've heard folks say up here, you know, I realized that I believe I'm probably pronouncing his name incorrectly, and but never once did he correct me on my pronunciation. So again, just as another example of how such a caring and thoughtful person he is. So again, thank you for allowing me to speak.
At the center of everything in Kalyan's life was family. We'll now hear from my dad, Narendra Dev, sharing reflections on Kalyan as a family member.
I met Kalyan for the first time in 1975 when he came with Paru to Delhi for their marriage. Paru and Kalyan had been partners for the last 8 years, so I guess they were ready to take the next step. He seemed pretty flexible about the marriage plan which my father had arranged and went with the flow of events. I made a visit to the US in 1977. At that time, Paru had followed her PhD guide to MIT, and Kalyan was working in a company in Boston. Both Paru and Kalyan were living in Boston. Kalyan seemed to be a very friendly type. They took me sightseeing in Boston, and I had a good time with both of them. Later, in 1979, I got an opportunity to explore employment in the US. I stayed with Paru and Kalyan for 3 months, and I got to know Kalyan better at that time. They had just had their first baby, Reena, and my parents too were staying in their house. So it was a full house with the usual adjustment stresses and strains. But Kalyan was ever the welcoming host. He got his peace of mind at night by staying up at night listening to chamber music or focusing on difficult projects like building a personal computer from spare parts. I bought an old car from Detroit, but I had no money in the Bay Area to fix it. So Kalyan helped me service the car ourselves in order to save money. I remember him helping me change the brake pads. Now, who could do that? After we changed the pads, Kalyan said that we should bleed the brake oil from the cylinder.
to take out the bubbles. I marveled that he was so knowledgeable about all these details. And needless to say, the brakes worked very well. I remember Kalyan, Paru, baby Reena, my wife Amita, and I, we took a trip together to the Grand Canyon. It must have been around 1980. Kalyan, as you know, is an avid photographer and took a lot of photographs on this trip. However, he wanted to get a good photo of the canyon which would convey the depth perspective. So he stepped over the guardrails, dangled down the canyon, holding the guardrails with one hand and holding the camera with the other hand. I saw Paru sitting in the car with her eyes covered. She asked me weakly, "Is he done with his photograph?" Kalyan did get his desired photograph of the Grand Canyon. He truly is a daredevil. When living with Kalyan, I saw his method of organization from close quarters. He would have neat piles of paper on his desk. But one day the cleaners came and cleaned up his desk, so his piles were destroyed. He was pretty upset since he couldn't find some of his papers. So I asked him how he organized his papers. He said that they were all chronological. Every 6 months, he picked up the stuff below 6 months and threw them away or kept a few of them. He had a system which worked well for him. I remember a time I took Kalyan's help to bring a fridge into one of my rental condos. The delivery guy dropped the fridge at the bottom of the stairs. We had to bring it up 4 steps, then execute a 90-degree turn and pull it over the doorstop. We tried lifting the fridge, but it would not budge. Kalyan insisted on doing the moving himself. He used a dolly and bungee cords. He secured the fridge tightly to the dolly with the bungee cords. He somehow found superhuman strength to bring the fridge up the steps, execute the turn, and bring it across the doorstop. He was a master at combining brain power with brawn. Kalyan's skiing skills are legendary. He taught me and all my kids skiing. He insisted that we learn skiing without poles. Once we learned skiing, he encouraged us to just point our bodies down the slope and let our hip movement and the edge of the skis take care of the control. It's not an intuitive concept, but it makes for great skiing form and ease of skiing. Kalyan's cooking skills too are legendary, but if you ask him to describe a recipe, he'll be hard-pressed to describe one. His cooking is based on 50% his learned skill, 25% improvisation, and 25% taste as you go. But the end result is always yummy. As you can see, Kalyan was a master of many skills, but he was also a person who was at peace with himself. His best place was at home, cuddling his dog, Toby, watching Premier League soccer games, listening to classical music, or watching old Indian movies. He will be fondly remembered. I miss him.
So much of my childhood was growing up seeing Paru Auntie and Kalyan Uncle with all of their close friends here in the Bay Area. Many of these friends have been close to Kalyan much before I was even born. These friendships go back decades. We will now hear from close friends who shared life, laughter, and community with Kalyan.
Can you hear me? Closer. Okay. Loud enough? Yes. Okay. So I met Kalyan much later than the IIT folks. I met him only when I came to the Bay Area in 1979. So the first time I met him was through one other IIT. Somebody asked me, how did you meet Kalyan? I said, you meet one IIT guy, you meet 700 others. So I met Kalyan, and we were part of a four, what we call the core group. We always went skiing together, 4 families. So when the first time we went skiing, I didn't know how to ski, and he knew how to ski because he'd been living in Stanford. So he just said, just point your skis down and go. Intuitively, it didn't sound so good. But I said, hey, he knows what he's doing. Sure enough, I pointed my skis, went down with predictable results, flat on my face. So I get up and look at him, and he's saying, no, do it again. Did it again, same result. So after about 3 or 4 times, I decided to do what my wife did, went to the beginner's class and took a lesson. This is classic Kalyan, mischievous as hell. So I wrote a poem, and I'm sure up there he's watching and he's saying, oh no, Srini is writing a poem. I leave this world for a few days, and look what happens. It's gone, hell in a handbasket. Anyway, I wrote about him. Yes. So, oh Kalyan, you left us so suddenly, we had no time to say goodbye. You were a contrarian, or maybe just wonderfully mischievous. None of us were quite sure whether you believed what you argued or argued what you believed. Simply to see us lean forward, bristle, laugh, reach for one more drink. You quoted Milton Friedman like scripture, spoke of markets as if they were weather, natural, inevitable, best left ungoverned. I pushed back, predictably. A bleeding heart liberal that I am, armed with ideals, insisting democracy could not survive on profit alone. Kalyan just smiled and sharpened his next point. He admired Reagan too, the breaker of unions, the man who, in your telling, helped bring down the Soviet Union and restore American confidence. I said he began the slide, that something essential started leaking away on his watch. He even liked Dabya, the certainty, the interventions. I called him the village idiot and never convinced you otherwise. Kalyan just raised his eyebrow as if to say, history, like markets, would sort it all out. He was so right. Dabya, compared to what we have now, looks like, Abraham Lincoln. On our first argument, once in Lake Tahoe, decades ago, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, we were still arguing. Families were asleep. Kalyan was preaching unfettered capitalism versus American experiment. That's me. He said any activity that produced profit should not be restrained unless it caused grievous harm. I finally thought I had him. I slammed the table. Parvati had enough. She walked up from downstairs with a utensil in her hand. She said, bed. So he went to bed. That's not, we trusted one another enough to disagree loudly. That disagreement was never a threat, but a form of intimacy. That we could argue fiercely and still come down for breakfast. Now you're gone. No final debate. No raised eyebrow. No chance to ask whether you truly believed every word or simply loved the joy of the argument. Oh, Kalyan, you left us so suddenly. We had no time to say goodbye. But you leave me and argue a little more honestly because you taught us that ideas matter. And so does friendship. If there is another world, I imagine you're there already, starting an argument, smiling just enough to let us know you're enjoying it. We will keep the arguments alive. We will miss you.
Can you hear me?
Hi, I'm Vasan. I've known Kalyan since January of 1963. That's more than 63 years ago. We met for the first time, just like Raj said. We were both attending the preparation course for the IIT entrance exam in St. Xavier's in Kolkata. We were together for about 5 years in the same department, electronics and electrical communications engineering. And I consulted him frequently, especially in our final years, on the complex working of semiconductors. Kalyan was one of those brilliant minds that had the unique capability of explaining complex concepts like the inner workings of those electrons that insisted on going through those PNP and NPN junctions, which normal brains couldn't ever fathom. We lost touch after our IIT graduation, but fate brought us back together again in the early 80s in Silicon Valley. And in these last 45 years that we've been together with our families, we've taken many trips together, on cruises to various destinations, ski trips, you name it. Too many to remember individually, but incredibly fun. I'm going to give some memories from a few of them. One of the first, in the early 80s, when our kids were very young, we took a trip to Puerto Vallarta. Reena, Shona, Paru, will remember? My kids, Kavita and Priya, are here as well. And one afternoon in a bar, we, at least adults, Paru, Kalyan, Nirja, my wife, myself, had weed-laced margaritas that seemed to affect us all very differently. In Kalyan's case, he decided to join a local team of boys playing soccer on the streets. I was watching him weave in and out, efficiently dribbling the ball, with no resistance from the opposition, and he scored a goal. I was clapping away, but no one else was. It seemed Kalyan had scored a self-goal. Oh well, he still displayed great dribbling skills. On another trip, this time to Jamaica, we had rented this large house for 5 families, which had an infinity pool in it. And one day we found this little frog jumping around the pool, and the kids didn't want to go into the pool. So Kalyan picks up this little frog and offered to eat it alive, so the kids could go for a swim. This picture of Kalyan standing next to the pool with the frog closely held open his mouth. The frog peed, it was so scared. And we have a picture of that. And this will live indelibly in all our minds. Kalyan had a great love for public transit systems. We traveled all over the world together on many trips. And on our trip to Shanghai, going on this high-speed maglev train from Shanghai City to the airport to check it out and just to see what it feels like to be traveling at 400 kilometers an hour. And he wanted to confirm that you could take a cup of coffee and not spill it because they had said it was very steady. And that's exactly what we did. We filled our coffee up to the brim, and we watched the speedometer go up to 400 kilometers an hour. And lo and behold, the coffee didn't spill. And then again in Budapest with our 1968 buddies that you saw there, he insisted that we take the local bus, which we all did. But we didn't know that it was set up a scam where the ticket had actually made a thing so that we could pay them bribes under the table so that we avoided jail time. So it was an incredible time. Seniors already said about our skiing skills and how his only way to ski was point the ski down and ski down. He taught my son, Arjun, how to ski. My Arjun never learned how to wedge. He learned down parallel skiing from the day one. In our later years, we had our book club and bridge, and I'm part of it, and Raj had mentioned it as well. Our 23-year-old book club, Kalyan was one of the early members. And he introduced the only play that we have ever read and discussed in this book club. We read a lot of fiction books, non-fiction books. And this by David Auburn. It was a prize-winning play about genius, advanced mathematics, and the nature of truth. It reflected Kalyan's qualities in a lot of ways. 23 years, Kalyan has chosen 10 books, and each has been memorable in its own unique way. Kalyan, my friend, mentor, and close buddy, we will always have happy memories of our times together. Thank you for all those times and memories. Goodbye, my friend.
Does this mic work? I'm Shyam Nagrani. I'm one of Kalyan's old friends. Kalyan, as everybody has been saying, was a delightful, brilliant, humorous, and sometimes very stubborn man. I met him in 1978, which is about 47, 48 years back, and I've done many vacations with him, weekend beach trips, multiple ski vacations, which the two speakers before me have already mentioned. I'm just going to talk about a few things that showed what a unique and good person he was. If you needed help, Kalyan was always there. Not only was he helpful, but he was cool as a cucumber. When we first moved here to the Bay Area, we used to have a little Honda. And as luck would have it, it broke down near San Francisco Airport. So our mechanic was in Santa Clara. Towing those days was crazy expensive, and we were ridiculously poor. So I mentioned this to Kalyan. His response was, no problem. So what he decided to do was, it was a Sunday morning, he tied a rope from the back of his car to the front of my car. We got off onto 101, and I thought, you okay, I'm in the car behind. I have to be very careful so I don't hit Kalyan. What does Kalyan? I said, I'm sure Kalyan will be in the left lane driving at 50 miles per hour. What does he do? He gets into the right lane, and before you knew it, it was like driving between 65 and 70. And behind him, I was shit scared. He loved music and movies. And he decided he was trying to get me a little cultured, and his way of getting me cultured was to watch Satyajit Ray movies, which we did. After the first movie that I saw with him, it was like, oh my God, I feel like slashing my wrists. This is so depressing. He said, no, there are other movies. We are going to watch more than one. So we watched a couple more. And at the end of that time, I finally told Kalyan, Satyajit Ray movies are 1 slashers, 2 slashers, or 3 slashers. And I said the last one was 3 slashers. Kalyan was so cool about it. He thought this was really funny, even though, he really looked up to Satyajit Ray as a real artist. He was also a great cook. And the best fish he ever made was when he had a beer in his hand. So if we got there early and Kalyan was cooking fish, first thing you had to do was to open a beer and give it to him. And man, the fish was so awesome. So recently, we were talking about having a fish evening, and we used to meet Kalyan typically like once a month or so. So we decided that I'll cook him some fish, which of course was just going to be decent fish, and he was also going to cook. He departed before that, so I will always remember the fact that we didn't cook for each other. I will miss Kalyan greatly. Just I'm sure everybody in this room will. I will miss his sardonic, his warm friendship, and of course, his outstanding cooking. They don't make them like that anymore. We will miss you, buddy.
for the last 40 years. I met him for the first time when we moved to the Bay Area, 1980s, early 80s. And so didn't spend any of the early years with him. And I was really impressed by some of the pictures we saw out there. I mean, in some of those photographs, he looks like a real rebel, you know. I mean, like, you know, he's going to get them. But, sorry. Anyway, coming back to what I was about to say, in life, you know, we encounter many people that we talk with about sports, business, politics, books, movies. And then, if we are lucky, we have that rare person in our lives that we can talk to about. And for me, Kalyan was that rare person. We could talk football, he'd talk about the Premier League, I talk about the 49ers, and we would talk movies. It didn't really matter. The point is that he was a good listener. So even if he didn't care about what happened, he would listen, and he would nod his head at the right time. So he was just, you know, I could talk. Like I said, we could talk all the time. And I was thinking about it. What is it? Why is it like that? Why can we talk so easily with each other? And to me, I realized it's because I felt safe with him. I felt safe with him because I always knew that he had my back. And that made the difference. Kalyan came across as being obstinate or unyielding or unreasonable. And I completely got that. It was really an outcome of his integrity. He wasn't things or matters that he felt deeply about. That was implicit and inborn in his nature. You know, our politics was very different. I mean, we were literally on two sides of the aisle. And we would be yelling at each other at times. That our different outlooks did not divide us. It just didn't matter as much as our friendship did. And, you know, on more than one occasion, he referred to me and Kalpana, my wife, she is not here, unfortunately, as family. And warm thought will always stay with me. I valued Kalyan for his loyalty and his integrity. I miss my friend.
His father from camp to camp and studying in boarding schools. I think if there is an afterlife, he is with his Stanford buddies. Arun Shah, Sid Maitra, Naren Gupta, brilliant, argumentative, great people. I think they're arguing vociferously up there. We've lost his physical presence, true. We can't smell the food, we don't see him around. Even now, actually, if I feel he's there, that he's just sitting there. It's going to take some time. But we have lost that physical presence. So I think each of us has to find a way to find the essence of Kalyan to carry with us, because that is surely there. I would like to paraphrase the Gita. I am not a religious person, but the great books often say things very well. It says, be not deluded, but that which pervades the body, the eternal, the essence of them. I would like to play a song, you how happily sometimes things end. We had just returned from 2 wonderful weeks in India. He saw every relative he wanted to see. He celebrated a wedding with his family 4 solid days. And he was revered, honored. He was the oldest person there. The younger generations said, we've never met you. We're so happy to meet you. And as a family, they would end every get-together with this song. It is a song by Tagore, and it is a song about how even when you won, how you will come back together again. The song, for those of you who know, is Purano She Diner Kotha. Let's talk of old days. So if you would please play that song. Should I turn up this?
চোখের দেখা প্রাণের কথা সে কি ভোলা যায় পুরানো সেই দিনের কথা ভুলবি কি রে হায় সে চোখের দেখা প্রাণের কথা সে কি ভোলা যায় আয় আরেকটি বার আয় রে সখানের মাঝে আয় মোরা সুখের দুঃখের কথা কব প্রাণ জুড়াবে তাই আয় আরেকটি বার আয় রে সখা প্রাণের মাঝে আয় মোরা সুখের দুঃখের কথা কব প্রাণ জুড়াবে তাই মোরা ভোরের বেলা ফুল তুলেছি দুলেছি দোলায় বাজিয়ে বাঁশি গান গেয়েছি বকুলের তলায় মোরা ভোরের বেলা ফুল তুলেছি দুলেছি দোলায় বাজিয়ে বাঁশি গান গেয়েছি বকুলের তলায় হায় মাঝে হলো ছাড়া ছাড়ি গেলেন কে কোথায় আবার দেখা যদি হলো সখা প্রাণের মায়ায় পুরানো সেই দিনের কথা ভুলবি কি রে হায় সেই চোখের দেখা প্রাণের কথা সে কি ভোলা যায়
This is the last song he sang. He sang it two days before we rushed him to the hospital. I'm happy that he did. Thank you.
Hello? Hold on. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Before we conclude, on behalf of the Dutta family, I just want to thank everyone who made today possible, those who organized, coordinated logistics, videos, and have supported the family during the past month. A few reminders, please sign the guest book if you have not already done so. There are refreshments in the back, and we do have to be out of here by